Hello, my name is Guillermo Torres, and here with me is Gerard Lagarina. Welcome everyone to our new webinar. This time I will explain how to install and configure our product Untitled AWS Connector in the landscape. Let's wait 2 or 3 minutes to give time to everyone to connect, so we will be back shortly. Hello and welcome everyone again to our new webinar. As we said before, today we will show you the installation and configuration process of the AWS Connector solution that Linke has created and how this solution helps SAP customers to be more agile, respond to new business challenges, and be more cost-effective on infrastructure and operation costs. Here with me is Gerard Lagarina. He's the product owner of the solution and has been involved in the development from the beginning. And he will guide us during the installation and configuration process, and also will show us 3 different scenarios where the tool can help businesses to be more agile and cost effective. But before getting our hands dirty, let me introduce briefly the company for those who don't know Linke. Linke, it's a Spanish-based AWS Premier Consulting partner holding both DevOps and SAP competencies since 2016. Sorry. We are now managing more than 140 productive SAP instances in AWS. We have performed 52 SAP migrations in last year, and in our team we have at least 105 SAP and AWS certifications. Based on that experience, we have developed a product catalog that help businesses to extend ASP applications and integrate them natively with AWS services enabling more efficiency, agility, and cost effectiveness. In this catalog, aside from the AWS Connector that we will talk about it today, we have the Emory Cloud Backup, that is the SAP backend integration for HANA databases. This product allows us to store and retrieve backups directly to and from Amazon S3 without any middleware or additional hardware needed. This product has been already certified with SAP. Next, we have the high availability for SAP product, that it's a complete serverless orchestration for both SAP central services and database. And it is built using a set of AWS services like Lambda, SNS, CloudWatch, and more. Again, the solutions allows us to integrate the SAP high availability landscape needed of any additional hardware or software or third-party software. Then we have the SAP Automation Platform, that it's an application that helps us to deploy entire SAP landscape using automation tools. We use for that tools like Chef and Terraform to deploy the infrastructure. And with this, it allows us to reduce the time that we need to get the systems installed. Then we have the SAP pre-installed systems that are a set of pre-configured, ready-to-use SAP images available in the AWS marketplace. And this product allows businesses to deploy an SAP system just in minutes. And this scenario is especially recommended for sandbox or development scenarios. And finally, we have the Elastic SAP, but it's a mix of ABAP code and Python scripts that integrates SAP with the AWS auto-scaling service. That allows us to increase and reduce the number of dialog instances in an SAP server based on metrics or a stable table. But today, we're going to talk about the AWS Connector. And back to that solution, you can say that this is the ABAP SDK for AWS. It is 100% ABAP development, so it resides within the SAP system. And again, it allows the SAP systems to not need any middleware service or hardware to interact with AWS services. It has, as you will see, it has an installation and has a lifecycle management also included. All this code, ABAP code, it's created in a namespace different than the customer namespace, so that it has zero conflicts with existing code. And again, it's CP archive link compatible. Also, you can have more information in the AWS solution space. And this solution is eligible for AWS credit. So in case that you want to try this solution, AWS gives you credit, so it has no cost for you during the test period. The solution is built on security, so it has security in the IAM perspective with user and policies with a less privilege attached, and the token management to ensure that the communications between the AWS Connector and S3 are secured. Now it's the application is a built-in with the application, and in the near future we will also have a Fiori application for the customizing and management of the application. And also we offer a set of tools to test the migration before it is produced on production. The three scenarios that we will like to show today. The first one, the document storage, that is the Go, so DMS scenario. that stands for the storage of business documents, scanned invoices, or any document that is linked to a business transaction. So customers can store these documents in S3 using the low cost and high availability of the service itself, and avoiding storing these documents in the SAP database, and for that, reducing the size of the database and increasing the performance and operations of the database. The second scenario is the data archiving scenario that allows customers to archive and save all business data outside the database and use S3 as a storage location, and again, taking advantage of the Amazon S3 native features itself and increasing the performance and operations within the database. You can reduce the backup time for that databases, as these databases will be smaller. And finally, we will also show you the data lake scenario. With this approach, we allow customers to export or read data from the SAP system and put that data on a data lake that can be an S3 bucket, and therefore allowing customers to build applications on top of the AWS, such as data warehousing, machine learning, IoT, or Athena, that uses that SAP data stored on the S3 bucket as a data source. These are some of our customers that are already using the solution, and with that solution, they have reached the 99.99% of durability and availability, and they reach 90% of cost savings with that solution. Today, this webinar will be a technical guide through the installation and configuration process of the solution. So if you want more an introduction webinar to know more about this solution, you can check our webinar channel and check a previous webinar that we recorded that it's called How to Integrate On-Premise and Cloud-Based SAP Systems using Linke AWS Connector. And now it's time for the demo. Gerard will show you all the steps needed to install and configure the solution, while I will try to explain to you all the steps performed. Now we're gonna jump to the screen, and let's wait a couple of seconds. So now you can see the data screen, and the first thing that we need to do is to install the add-on on the SAP system. It is installed as any other SAP add-on, so it is done in the client 0 through the transaction the same transaction with the default options. Here we have to upload the package for both front-end or application server. In that case, we choose the application server, select the package, and then start the process. As I said, you can see the package listed on the add-ons to be installed, and then you can continue just selecting the default options. There's nothing to be changed. And finally, we start the process. Now it takes 5 to 10 minutes for this add-on to be installed. And meanwhile, we're going to show you the configuration in the AWS site. We have to create an AWS user, an IAM user, and also a policy to allow that user to access the bucket where we will store the objects. And there are 2 ways to do that. One is to create the policy and the user manually. The other option is the one that we are showing you now, that is using a CloudFormation template provided by Linke. You can do that, all that actions automatically. So we access the CloudFormation console, select the downloaded CloudFormation template provided by Linke, and select next. In the first window, we need to add a description name. It is any description name that you want to add to that CloudFormation, and then you can see different options like the policy name and the username that can be changed for whatever name that you want to create. But we will leave the default by now, and also you can choose. You need to set the SID for the SAP systems that you will use with AWS Connector. Once it is set, we can continue and move to the last of the screens of CloudFormation, leaving the default options presented by the AWS. And lastly, we need, this is a double check, this is a double security check. We need to check the option that we know that we are modifying IAM resources, because we are creating, as I said, an IAM user and an IAM policy. And once it is checked, we can create the stack. And what this stack will do, as I said, is to create an IAM user, create an IAM policy to allow this user to access a specific S3 bucket, and also it will create the credentials that we will use to configure AWS Connector. Let's wait just a minute for this process to be done. And let's start the first. Now the IAM user is already created, and now the second process to create the IAM policy. So I will try to explain what the policy has. The policy will allow the AWS Connector user created with this template to access a packet created with the SID prefix in the AWS landscape. As you can see, now the deployment is being fulfilled, finished, and you can see that the user, the managed policy, and the access key have been created. We will now move to the IAM console and check the IAM policy to show you what that the less privileged permission has been granted for that user. If we check the policy, we can see that we are giving permissions for the S3 bucket, but the bucket has to start with the SID prefix, that in the case is Q01. For AWS restrictions, the name of the bucket should be lowercase or number. That's the reason why we are not setting the SID with uppercase. And also in the second part of the policy, you can see that only the AWS connector created by CloudFormation has access to that bucket. Okay. So now we will move back to the same transaction in the SAP system to see that the add-on has been correctly installed. And in the uninstallable components, we can see that now we have the LNK AWS add-on, that is the AWS connector add-on, and also that we can uninstall it in case that in the future we want to uninstall it. Okay. So now we will need to check that some specific requirements are met in the SAP system. So we are ready to use the AWS connector, and the first one is to ensure that both HTTP for some archiving protocols and also the HTTPS service that is used for the connection with from the SAP system with AWS S3. All connections between SAP system and S3 are secured, so they are always called through the HTTPS protocol, And now for that, we will be moving to the transaction SMICM. And in services, we'll see that both HTTP and HTTPS services are running. In case that one of those two services is not active, we need to change it in the SAP profile to allow both services to be started. And now the second part of the prerequisite checks will be that we need to import the AWS certificate in the SAP system. But for that, we need to previously create two SAP commands in transaction SM69 to enable SAP Systems to use both wget and OpenSSL commands in the operating system. So for that, we will create the command OpenSSL or the OpenSSL command. In this example, we are using a Linux system, but in case that you're using a Windows system, the only thing that will change will be the path to the binary. And after we create the OpenSSL command, we will create the wget command, and again, it's only calling the wget binary in the operating system level. So now we are ready to import both the OpenSSL command will be used to download the endpoint certificates from AWS, and the wget command will be used to download the root certificates also from AWS. And now we're done. We will need to call our first transaction that is in the namespace LNK AWS. All of the transactions created with the AWS Connector add-on are stored in the same namespace, that is LNK AWS, so that it does not conflict, as we said, with existing code. And the first transaction is the AWS Express transaction. And as you can see, we need to, if we open the endpoint option, you will see that it will download all the S3 endpoints available in AWS. So in case that you want to use different regions, you will be able to do that. And also the EIM policy. And for the first time that we execute this job, we need to ensure that the SSL standard client is created. So we will check the options and execute the report. It will take just a couple of seconds to download all the certificates. And once it is done, you will see the list of all certificates being downloaded to the Express transaction. And the ACM server is being restarted. Now we will jump to the extra transaction to ensure that all certificates has been downloaded. And the SSL client standard, you will see that the Amazon root certificate is being downloaded, but also all the endpoint certificates needed for the communications between AWS and the SAP system. With that certificate, we ensure that all communications between both SAP system and S3 buckets are secured via HTTPS protocol. Okay, now it's time. One thing before. As the certificates can sometimes change, it is a good practice to schedule a daily job that checks for new certificates in the AWS endpoints. So a best practice will be to create a job in the SM36 transaction. We can choose any specific job name. And we need to ensure that the AWS Trust report has been selected. And just with the default option, we will schedule it to do it daily at a specific time that you prefer. So now we will check it to be executed daily. And as I said, with that job, we will ensure that all certificates are renewed if in any case the actual certificates are expired in the AWS endpoint. Now it's time to create the AWS Connector service in the SICF transaction. And for that, we will call a transaction SICF, but in the namespace of the AWS Connector. And transaction, we need to choose if we want to accept the user proposal for the AWS Connector, that we will create a user with the name specified in the screen and a default password. You can choose to create or use an existing user, and also you can select an existing user in case that you're using the central user administration. For that test, we will accept the user proposal, and we will execute the report. And as you can see, a new service, AWS Connector S3, has been activated in the SICF transaction. This process, what this process will do is to attach our Linke AWS SICF profile to the specified user. If we jump to the user transaction and choose the user created, we will see in the profile tab that this new profile has been attached to it. As I said, it could be the default user created, or you can choose whatever user that you want to use in the system. Lastly, it's a prerequisite also, we need to ensure that the WebDintro service Linke AWS that has been created with the SAP add-on installation, it's active on the SICF. For that, we move into the transaction and search for the specific service. It's in the SAP VC WebDintro. Linke AWS, in this case, is not activated, so we activate it manually and choose the default option. And this is all the prerequisites we're going to execute to have the AWS Connector ready to be used. So now it's time to configure the AWS Connector, and for that, we start its main transaction that is called S4 Manager, again in the Linke AWS namespace, and this will open the WebDintro application, where we will see the first tab that we will see will ensure that all prerequisites are met. Let's give it a couple of seconds, and now you can see that the service the HTTP service is active, the HTTPS service is also active, the command OpenSSL has been created, the service AWS Connector S3 has been active, but the job seems not to be scheduled because it's a different name, so we need to ensure that the name meets the AWS Connector requirements. So we will create another job with a specific name. And again, for a daily execution, and now we jump back to the AWS console, AWS Connector console, and we refresh. Now all the requirements are met. Then now it's time to enter the credentials for the IAM user created in the CloudFormation execution. So as we don't know the access key and the security key yet, we have to move back to the CloudFormation console. We can first add the username created in the AWS console, and also add our specific AWS account ID. And now, if we move back to the CloudFormation console, and we select the stack that we created. In the Outputs tab, you can find the secret key and the access key for that specific user. Once we copy it and set it on the AWS Connector console, we can save, and also we can check if the access key and secret key are valid. And now that we check it, all the credentials are correct. Now we will create the buckets where the objects will be stored. We will create 3 different buckets, one for each scenario that we want to show you today. The first one will be the bucket for the document storage scenario. And we will select you can select any region that you want. The second one will be a data archiving bucket. And the third one will be the data lake scenario bucket. As you can see, while Gerard creates the buckets, all buckets created by the AWS Connector console have the bucket lifecycle policies that they integrate with the AWS S3 lifecycle policies. So you can choose how long does your file live in the bucket, and after that it will be removed. It will be removed. And also you can choose if you want to encrypt your data, both in server side or client side. You can choose to use your own encryption keys, or you can use the default server encryption keys from AWS. And the last option is that you can compress the data before it is sent to S3, and also decompress once you need it back to the SAP system. Again, you can check that all the information entered are correct and all the checks are successful. So you can also check the bucket size tab when now they are all empty, so now the size is 0, but you can check in the transaction that what size or how many files do you have in each one of the buckets managed by AWS Connector. Okay, so now it's time to show you the 3 scenarios, and for that we will start again with Ghost DNS scenario, and we will store some business documents and any documents to 2 scenarios. One will be attaching a file to a material, and the second one is to attach a business document to a financial transaction. But before that, we need to move to the attachments config tab, and then choose which bucket do we want to use for that specific files. And for that, we will use the doc storage bucket. We save the data, and then we see that the content repository has been created with the RF name that we will use later in the financial transaction option scenario. So now the first one, as we said, will be to add a file to an existing material. So for that, we access the production client in the SAP system and jump to the materials transaction to the default transition that it's MM03. Choose an existing object, an existing material, and then in the service for object menu, we can create an attachment. We choose any file that we want to attach to that specific material. Let's choose the test Excel file and allow, and document service type are not allowed. That's because it is a 0 kilobyte file, so it is a standard warning. But if we now We're moving back to the SAP transaction. AWS Connector underscore S3 and send to the client the error and see AWS Connector underscore S3 and in the file client we inform to the 000 and save the change. And now, again, the document in the material. So another prerequisite before we start using the AWS connector will be to check that the service has the client 0 explicitly indicated on the service. Again, we choose the test again to attach the test Excel file to the material. And then after a few seconds, we can see at the bottom of the screen that the attachment was being successfully created. So now if we move to the S3 console in the AWS console again, and we look for the specific bucket, that is the doc storage, and we open it. As you can see, all the buckets are created with the SID of the SAP system as a prefix. So that way, you cannot use the same bucket in two different SAP systems because the SID will be different. Also, all the buckets will be different. So no, you can ensure that two systems will not write in the same bucket. And there you can see that the test Excel file has been uploaded. And if we move back to the SAP console, and look in the attachment list, you can also see the test file attached to it. And also we can open it in case that we want to open this content. So now it was the first part of the scenario, and the second part will be, as we said, to attach a business document to a financial transaction. And for that, we will need to ensure that the specific document type that we want to use has this new repository indicated. And for that, we will need to go to the transaction 08C3, look for the specific document type that we want to manage, and ensure that the content repository ID is the one generated in the AWS Connector console. In that example, it was RF, and it's shown in the list. So we can choose to select the same repository ID for all the BKIPF document types. And then we save the changes. It needs an order to save the changes. And now we are moving to the financial transaction. At B03, we select a document number, an existing one. You can choose whatever document that you want to use. And then instead of creating an attachment, we need to use the stored business document. From an existing list, we can choose the type of document that we are uploading. In that case, will be an incoming invoice. And we choose the financial document that we want to upload. And again, you will see that in the right side of the screen that the file has been uploaded successfully. And if we move back to the AWS console and see the contents of the S3 bucket, we can see in the doc storage bucket that the second file has been uploaded. Then you see that the data file that we attached to the financial document has also been uploaded. So this was everything for the document storage scenario, and now we are moving to the data archiving scenario. Again, this scenario allows customers to archive or save all business data outside the database. And for that, we will use a standard SAP object that it's called BCS flight. But again, before we can start the archiving process, we need to move back to the AWS Connector console. And in the Archiving Object Management tab, we need to create the relation between the desired archiving object, in that case, BC slide. Let's find the object. It's blank, yeah. Now you can see the object. It's a standard object from SAP. And then we choose the bucket for this scenario that will be the data archiving bucket. And then we save the changes, start automation, and store before deleting. So it's the standard sequence for the SAP archiving process. And then we save the data. And also we can check. And the results are successfully, and so we will be going back to the SAP system and enter the transaction SARA, that is the transaction used for the object archiving, and we will select the VC slide, and we will start an archiving process using the standard tools from SAP. We will choose to start this process immediately, and also to a standard printer. Again, this is a test, but you can choose any other values in the variant, and also you can choose it to execute it with a different username. This is your choice. And now we execute the process, and what we would be doing is to create some objects, old objects, and put it on an archiving file. To check that the process has been successfully executed, you can move to the job overview transaction and see that we have 3 different jobs. The last 2 are the standard SAP jobs created for an archiving process, and the third one, the SEO job, is the one that actually uploads the object from the SAP system to S3. And now all 3 jobs have been successfully executed. Now if we move to the archiving, that archiving bucket, we will see that the archiving object has been created also in the bucket. So again, it will take some time to read the data from, but it is possible to read the data from the S3 object like any other archiving procedure in SAP. Okay, so now we are moving to the last scenario that we want to show you, that is the data lake scenario. And for that scenario, we will use the third bucket created, and we will export some data from an SAP data source and store it as a JSON file in the specified bucket. For now, AWS Connector can extract data from data sources, but in the near future, it will also be able to extract data from tables and other SAP objects. For that, we execute the archiving, the data lake report that is the RSA3 to S3 that is also in the namespace Linke AWS. We execute it, and here you can choose. You need to select both the data source, the SAP data source that you want the data to be extracted from, a request ID that is a description, any ID that you want to choose for that specific action, the data record, the number of calls the packets per call, the number of calls to the extractor to obtain the data, and the date mode if you want to make it the extraction form. This can be complete, extraction, delta, or initial. That will be the same system that where we are. And lastly, we need to inform the bucket that we created for that purpose. In the selecting list, You will see all the 3 entries that we create for that webinar, and we choose for that the data lake bucket. And when we run the report, it will take just a few seconds to form. You can see that 11 data records have been selected, and they exported it in a JSON file. And a file called material with the date and hour has been created successfully. And we move to the AWS console and look for the data lake bucket. We will see that this file has been created in there. So now that's everything that we need to show you today. We want to show you today about the AWS Connector. So now it's time for questions and answers. And meanwhile, we'll give 2 or 3 minutes for the people to ask the desired questions. Let me repeat that the AWS Connector is available both in the AWS solution space, and again, it's available for AWS credits, so you can consult our offer available for customers, and it's also available from the SAP Solutions directory. The product has been certified, so you can find also information in the SAP Solution directory. And somebody has complained about the sound. Sorry for any inconvenience caused by the audio today. We hope you could follow the demo. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We will wait just a couple of minutes to ensure that the people can ask their questions. It seems that there are no questions in the audience. So one last thing that I would like to say today is that the AWS Connector is now available for the S3 service in AWS. It's integrated with the AWS S3 service. But now we are working to also integrate it with services like Lambda, DynamoDB, and Synapse, SQS, and they will be ready for production soon. So thank you everyone for being here, for attending this webinar, and hope to see you soon in the next webinar. Thanks again, and bye-bye.